hand troops to quell Muslim rebellions and likewise. So it really developed, probably a lot of the problems that we can see now in China sometimes in terms of their sectarian problems stems from this period. Now, they incited anti-Muslim sentiment throughout China and used Han soldiers to repress Muslim regions of the country. You might realize that the major reason why they did so is that the Hui Muslims and all the Muslims in China were very, very militarily equipped. They were very good in terms of military. So if they wanted to, completely control China, they realized they'd have to decimate the Muslim population there. So they prohibited ritual slaughtering of animals during the Eid and forbid construction of new mosques and pilgrimage to Mecca. So that is really a very strict imposition to the Hui Muslims and to the other Muslims. So they also took advantage of occurring sectarian problems within the Muslim communities. And this particularly is between the Gadim, which is the Lao Pai, right? Yeah. And then the Kafiya, Jahriya, they call it now, I think you call it now Lao Pai and Sin Pai. Yeah. So it still exists until now, unfortunately. And then the rebellion in Yunnan occurred because of repression by Qing officials. And it resulted in 5 Hui rebellions occurring in Yunnan from 1855 to 1873, the Tongkan Revolt occurring in mostly Xinjiang, Shenxi, and Gansu from 1862 to 1877. Now, this one you can see that they really committed genocide to suppress the revolts. They called it Xi Hui, that it means to wash off the Muslims. So the population decimation was quite substantial. Okay, this is the Qing dynasty. This is the extent of the dominion of the Qing dynasty at the time, from 1892. And then, going into the new government of Sun Yat-sen, for a time there was quite, hope, because Sun Yat-sen declared, I think his name is Sun Yat-xian, right, or something. I can't remember the Putonghua name, because this is the Cantonese, Sun Zhongshan, yeah, because it's a Cantonese transliteration. He's declared the country belonged equally to the Han, Hui, the Man, Meng, and Zhang people. So they included everybody. And there was a time when after the communist overthrow of the government, that there was a 100 Flowers movement, and a lot of the Muslims were able to say what they wanted in terms of reform. However, that was suppressed during the 10-year Cultural Revolution, and a lot of the people and even the mosques were destroyed. Actually, it was not only the Muslims that suffered, all the people suffered. In particular, we're only discussing this in terms of the data. For example, in some areas of a few hundred, almost 900 mosques, maybe only 8 remained after the 10 years. So they really went out to destroy mosques and temples and other religious institutions. Now, after the 3rd Congress of the 11th Central Committee, the government greatly liberalized its policies towards Islam and the Muslims. So when religious freedom was declared in 1978, along with the opening of China to the outside world, the Chinese Muslims, started rebuilding and so on, and went about their religious duties. Now, in terms of the present-day record, we have, according to a publication on mosques in China, there are about 32,749 mosques, with 23,000 in the province of Xinjiang. And there are nationwide Islamic associations. There are also Arabic schools and religious institutions newly established in China. Now, there is a measure of tolerance to religions that the government has done. And in areas where Muslims are a majority, the breeding of pigs by non-Muslims is forbidden. You have separate cemeteries, and marriage can be done through an imam. And Muslim workers are permitted holidays during major religious festivals and allowed Hajj to Mecca. Now, China's Muslims have also been active in the country's internal politics. And if you can see the record of Islamic history in China, they have survived and managed to practice their faith, sometimes against great odds, since the 7th century. I would just like to show you some data of present-day Muslims in China. I will not be able to discuss them in detail, but these are the characteristics of present-day Chinese Muslims. The vast majority of Chinese Muslims are Sunni, and the most notable feature actually, which I was asking you a while ago, is the presence of female imam. They have the women's masjids in China. According to the Islamic scholar Ma Tong, that there are about 6,781,500 Hui that are predominantly members of Sufi groups. This is also under Sunni Islam. And there are these are the divisions of the affiliations that they have. Now, unfortunately, I'm not very expert on these divisions, so I can't really comment on that. There are some Shia Muslims there, but mostly Ismailis in the minority areas of Peshkurgan and Xinjiang. Now, aside from the women's mosque, we have two unique features of Islam in China and the Chinese Muslims. One is that some of the scholars in the 1600s, during the Ming Dynasty, were able to actually synthesize or try to explain Islam according to Confucian thought. This would be, the major scholar would be Liu Zhi. I think he is even included in the largest encyclopedia that he had at that time. His work was included as part of the literary works in China. Now, Han Kitab actually just means, Han means, the Han people, and Kitab in Arabic means a book. So it is like, trying to explain Islamic tenets according to Confucian terms. And it was during the Qing Dynasty that it actually became, developed. And we have other writers. I think one of them actually is Wang Daiyu. Yeah, it's an earlier scholar before Liu Zhi. And they believe that Islam could be understood through Confucianism. And before I go into the women's masjids, in Islam part of the Quran says that every people of the world were given a prophet, to tell them the way and to explain, the correct way of viewing God and worship. So that what actually the scholars did in China was to try to see whether one way would be through Confucian thought. So that is the reason for their, why they tried to develop it. And at that time, a lot of the Hui Muslims actually had no access to Islamic literature and more access to Confucian analects. So that if you explain these tenets according to the Confucian thought, then they would understand it more. So the next unique characteristic would be the women's masjids. The earliest history of female imams can be found in China exclusively among the Hui people and not other Muslim minorities. Actually, it's just an evolution from Quranic schools for girls. Some people might be shocked and say, women cannot be imams. But actually, it is just an evolution of a natural process of segregation of the sex, that in terms of education. So they actually solved it, and until now, as far as I understand, those female leaders of the masjid, the women's masjids, actually learn from the male imams first before they perform their duties. So it's not essentially a very big, dichotomy from other culture practices. This phenomenon is unique to China, and these sprang up in the late 17th century in central China, including Shanxi and Shandong province. And they morphed into, women's mosques about 100 years ago, starting in Henan province. Okay, so this is a picture of the, what they would be doing. And in terms of trying to compare data with other countries, it is only in 2006 that Morocco became the first country in the Arab world to officially sanction the training of female religious leaders. So that is the other historical data that we have. So China is the only country to have such a long history of female imams. Okay, but they do not, go too far in terms of practices, customary practices, because female imams still cannot, for example, lead funeral ritual, wash male corpses, nor lead male in prayer. This is only exclusively for the females. And in fact, I think there is a hadith to corroborate that, in that Aisha radiallahu anha led women in prayer. So that is where they're coming with their, this tradition. In particular, for this area, this mosque can be found in Henan, which is very near your area, right? Okay, this is just a sketch map of the 10 major Muslims. We have already talked about it a while ago in terms of data, but just to show you, you can see in your notes later on, where are they located? They're all there. Okay? And these are some pictures. It's very difficult to understand. The data is a lot more, it's a lot better to visually see it. There's a mosque in Lanzhou, in Gansu. This is a contemporary Muslim wedding in Shatian, Yunnan. In fact, this area in Yunnan, Shatian, suffered massacre. And in fact, they were decimated to such a point that I think a few thousand men and boys were killed. And when they rebuilt again, it became known as the Chinese, like a small Mecca. Because really, when you go into that area, some people have gone there, they say that it's like going into Saudi Arabia, going to the Middle East. And you can see the clothes of the people in the back, right? This is a mosque, a masjid in Shangri-La, Yunnan. This is again the masjid in Shatian. This is some of the most popular Chinese Muslim food, right? Everybody has eaten a naan? Yes. Okay. And then this is the Kansu style mosque in Xinjiang. Now this is unique in that one area, when they moved to the Turkestan area, Xinjiang, they brought with them the architecture. So you can see a distinctly Chinese style pagoda and in the area of Xinjiang. This is in 760 and 781, built in 2 stages. This is another great mosque in Tongxin, Ningxia. And this is the detail of the calligraphy. These are Islamic artifacts. Now this would be located in Shenzhou, which is actually, they used to call this area one of the major sea route for trade, and the area was called Zaytun. The port was called Zaytun, which is olives in Arabic. Okay, and you can see everything written in Arabic and the translation for that. And this is another one, late Yuan to early Ming period with Arabic letter. There's a difference now in terms of the tombstone. This is a Quran translation where you can see from Machen, from Hefei, yes, from your area, yes. Now he's got Chinese, Uyghur, and other Turkic languages, aside from the Arabic. We have 8 different translations of the Quran in the Chinese language, as well as translations in Uyghur and the other Turkic languages. Now, this is what I'm trying to tell you before, that to the vastly, far areas, this is in Xinjiang, the northwest, and this is southeast. Yeah, the same arc in Zaytun, and this is in Xinjiang, Kashgar. So very similar architecture. These are some of the Islamic relics and calligraphy. This is a very popular, in fact, one of the masters of Islamic calligraphy now is based in New York, I think in the US, and his work sells in Christie's. You know, one of the major galleries in Europe. They also sell very well. They like the Islamic calligraphy. These are some of the some of the samples of Islamic calligraphy, and you can see that they have a distinctly Chinese flavor in that they use the black paintbrush, right? They use a paintbrush and they draw using Islamic calligraphy. So maybe we can now have, these are some of the references. I didn't complete all the references. You can have a look at them. And then these are the videos. Is it possible to? Yeah. Okay. Now let's see if we can see some of the videos now. Which one is this one? Yes. Okay. But we can't play the sound, right? Unfortunately, we can't connect the sound, so maybe we can just show you visually what the what the area is. That's allowed. It's talking about the Hui Muslims, which is most of the Hui Muslims. The soldiers intermarried with Chinese Muslims, Chinese Han, and that is how the culture developed. So this is just some of the visual you can see. So he's just saying that Islam is protected by law. So this is an Arab lady teaching the girls how to read the Quran. Siningsha.
But they get better by their second year. In the third year, the students ones start to be able to converse in the
So
language.
it takes them a few years, and she's saying by the third year they're able to speak in Arabic.
Job and converse properly with native Arabic speakers.
Much of Hui culture is based around Islam and practices also from the Middle East. However, many traditions have evolved over time to include Chinese influences as well.
This is something that they're talking about Chinese medicine together with Islamic practice. Yes. So I think that's probably acupressure. In fact, there's a very popular area in China where they have martial arts, very, very, sophisticated martial arts tradition. So this is in the middle of China. We can see, yeah.
So Museum is recently not very modern. So Malaysian Muslim painting.
Yeah. This is the how many of you have been to Guangzhou? This is located in Guangzhou. When some of the Hong Kong Muslims went there, they took a photo and they made a slideshow. This is the earliest masjid in China. built during the Tang Dynasty. You can see that pillar later, that been over 1,000 years old. So the distinctly Chinese gold motif. But that one, they have, let's see it. From outside, you wouldn't know it was a masjid, right? Except for that pillar. I don't know if you can see it later. That one. This is the distinct pillar built. That is the oldest relic there. And you can see the calligraphy. Now there's a distinct feature here that you'll see later on, another example of calligraphy. Okay, there's a well there. Yes, that one. Now there is a dispute whether Sa'ad ibn Waqqas is the one buried there. Because according to some Arab scholars, the extent of his traveling and work during the Islamic period could not have made him available to be here in China. But anyway, that is the, okay. It's over 1,000 years old and still running, the well. Yes. Okay, and the last one. This is done by a group in probably Malaysia or Indonesia. So if you see there are quite a few Muslims, Chinese Muslims who have migrated to different areas in Southeast Asia, and there is one actually in the Central Asian region. So you can see that they have, this is one of the groups that are promoting the yes. Yeah, Malaysia, right? Yes. So this is during the major Islamic festivals. Maybe brother can translate it. You know Malaysian, right?
Yeah, that's that.
Have they combined Chinese words and Malaysian
There is
words?
a lot of Malays and Chinese and
Yeah,
Indian.
there's about 40.
Yes.
Yeah, 40% of Malaysia are Chinese, but not a small percentage of them Muslims, right?
Which one?
In Malaysia, 40% of the population is Chinese, right?
Yes.
And part of that, minority part of that, is
Yes.
the way Muslims.
The problem is converting into Islam is a big problem among Chinese.
Yes, yes,
There is always a conflict.
yeah.
If anyone want to convert into Islam, then there will be a problem within the Chinese community. They will just come
And the
out.
scholar who came here,
Yes.
yeah, a few months ago, he actually explained
Still there is a conversion, but they won't allow. The Chinese,
Yeah.
politically they are strong. They have gangsters, especially in Penang and main
Yeah.
cities. Chinese, they have gangsters.
Yeah.
So if there is something happen, there is a intermarriage among Muslims and Chinese, then they will directly come and threaten the girl and the boy. If the boy is a Muslim, he will directly come and threaten, don't marry, otherwise something will happen. The consequences will be dire. So they think that converting into Islam is converting into Malay. There is a racial conflict, Malay-Chinese conflict.
In Malaysia.
So that means they are betraying their own race.
Yes. So I think we'll need to complete.
One of the part in the
It's not very
Sabah
clear, sir.
before a lot of the Christian before, lot of
That is
Spaniards are go.
That is this.
Yeah.
I say this
Okay.
is main
For
mainland Malaysia.
this is the end of the sharing that I've done so far today. Inshallah, I hope that you have gained some information from it. My limitation as a speaker today basically is that I have no access to first-hand information. I cannot read enough Chinese in order to read the text itself, so that as we say, why do we need to learn Arabic? Is in order to learn the Quran properly. So my information is a second-hand source. That is one limitation. And secondly, I am not a scholar, Islamic scholar. So what I do have sharing with you is just as a student of Islam. Okay. I would like to open the floor now for any questions. Inshallah, I hope that you have learned something from today. From the time that I talked to you about, what do you know about Muslims in China, have you learned something new? Is there anything that you find, distinctly different? Anything that has changed your opinion, or anything that you'd like to ask? By the way, I'd like to introduce Helen. Yeah, she's from Hubei. Hebei, sorry. I always have a mistake with Hubei and Hebei. And she's a born Muslim from China.
Yes.
And she probably has. Okay, we have 3 little girls who are coming to the class. Thank you. Please sit. Okay. Yes, my daughter. Please stay behind the desk there. Go out. Behind the desk where the volunteers are. Okay. And we would like to open the floor for everybody. If you have any questions for me or for her, because she is, the first-hand source.
No, not really, because I didn't have much, because I don't learn much about the history of
okay. But you lived in that community, right?
Yes, yes.
So at least you have first
At least I can share you about my family.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a question regarding the female imams. And, can you just explain how they operate and what is the procedure when it is time for salat, for example, how they...
That one I haven't really actually, when I was trying to read the book on mosques female mosques in the library. By the way, my problem also is the lack of sources in English on Chinese Muslims. In fact, I only found 2 reliable sources, and one of them was written by a person who is not very sympathetic to Muslims. So a lot of the content was negative. And then about the mosques in China, the women's mosque, it was only available as reference. I couldn't take it out of the library. So I was not able to read so much. I do know that they...
As a sister, she's from the
Yeah.
that
Did you
agency
go to
and
the
by the
women's
some
mosque?
experience.
Yes,
right?
yes. Yes, actually I went to one of, we don't have a Muslim mosque in our area, but I went to some areas that they have one. And especially during the
Ramadan.
big events, and the women will go there, and will go separately. Women go to the
Probably
women
for
mosques.
Tarawih, for
Yes.
the the salah and
Yeah.
so on.
Is it combined with
Is it
the
like
main
a-
masjid or it is
No,
totally
it's a
separate?
separate
Separate
unit
places,
altogether.
separate places.
Sometimes it's right beside each other. This will be the male mosque, this will be the female mosque, within
Because-
walking distance.
Because in my place, in my village, we call it as it's a taika or something like that.
So
where-
you do have,
Yes, for ladies, they always assemble there weekly,
Yeah.
they just
Yeah.
read some local culture
yeah,
or
so it's
something.
basically a madrasa for women, for
Yes,
girls.
that is right.
That has become,
Yes.
named as a masjid. But
They-
in fact, it is
For
operating.
Ramadan, they conduct the Tarawih prayer,
Yes,
but
yes.
other times they read some rituals or something,
Yeah.
this and that.
For
some-
the regular prayers, they
Regular,
do pray there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in my city, and we have the same mosque, but we go different rooms.
Okay. So their city would be the normal situation that we have. For example, here, where we have the same mosque but different entrances and different compartments for the male and the female.
Right. In this, have you witnessed a Tarawih prayer, for example, or Maghrib prayer in any of these masjid for the non-Muslims? I mean, for those who don't understand Arabic, like the sunset prayer or
Yeah.
the prayers we do at during Ramadan, nighttime prayers.
Normally
Have
we'll do it at home. We don't go to the
We don't
mosque.
go to the mosque.
But when you went to the female mosque, did you do any prayers there?
Yeah.
Yeah, and how are they praying? They pray in the middle, the imam is in the middle, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
And
it's
in
the
the
same.
front, in the middle.
Yeah, in the front row, in the middle of the front row.
Right.
This is the same as the Shafis. In Malaysia, Indonesia, the women can lead the prayer, in the absence of male imam. And the female row, the first row, has the female imam right in the middle. She's not in the front, no.
What are
So-
the challenges for Muslims in India?
Sorry?
Challenges.
The
Kunna.
challenges. You mean being a Muslim in China?
Yes.
Normally, I have to be honest with you. Normally in China, I don't wear the veil.
If
Because
you wear, then is there any problem?
Kind of, yes.
What kind of clothes you wear?
Sometimes you are not allowed to do something.
It's
But
in your working
like
place
a
or?
job, you can't get a job. Like,
It's the
and
same.
there's a true story in Xi'an because I had my university there, and one of the teacher who converted to Muslim and he was wearing the veil to the class. He was a professor. And she was a professor, and the school just banned her from the school. Like, you can't. If you want to wear a veil, then you can't teach. Literally left.
So there are still really problems and in fact some of the students do say that they have difficulty performing the regular prayers
So
because they live in
In
dormitories.
China, universities have prayer halls.
The prayer house?
Prayer
哦
halls.
那个礼拜堂在那个大学
If they attend, then
No.
they have.
No,
We don't have it in university.
no prayer hall.
We just pray separately in the dorm.
But now they are opening up slowly. I think
Yes,
they
yes.
are.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, because
You are allowed to do.
now because there is a lot of foreigners are coming there.
Yeah,
They just think, just say this is okay. Let us allow something.
yeah.
Yeah.
That is-
There are some areas in China when you go there, you cannot distinguish it from another Arab area. That would be the majority Muslim population.
Okay, in China's ID, there is a nationality. They say that is the nationality. They say Han, right?
Yes,
So every Chinese has to register his nationality also,
according
right?
to, yeah,
According
that's
to-
why your ID is Hui, right?
Yes.
Hui, huh?
Yes.
That means from that they understand you are a Muslim or a non-Muslim, right?
Yes,
Anyone can understand.
Yes.
yes.
Oh.
So that it does not, that is what I was trying to tell you in terms of the census. You don't know